I know people. I know people tell you that you're a great help, but I just want to be another one to tell you you're a great help. Trust me.
Thank you, and I hope the stuff that the content is going to come out next. I'm doing the ink, but I'm also doing like a test, and I don't know. I have to decide the people that are gonna be in the test group. But we're gonna test the ink out and just make sure everybody's settings are set up properly. Make sure their screens, because your monitors have to be calibrated to the best of your ability. Because not everybody is going to be able to afford a $500, $800 colorimeter just to make sure all their colors are on point and that sort of thing. So there are things
Mhm.
that you can do to make sure your monitor's calibrated, because that controls what your Photoshop and what your printer thinks is supposed to print. And most people don't know that. So if you go
Oh,
print
wow.
something on one computer that has a really high definition, a lot of different colors it can display type of monitor, and then you have like an old school desktop over here and you try to print from it, you might get different printing results just because of the display that you're using.
Okay.
So yeah, we're going to go through those type of things: setting up your display, setting up your printer settings, whatever ink you're using. And I don't know if you know this, but we're launching the ink Juneteenth. So, and I'll have some pre-orders for the ink before then. But yes, so for Juneteenth, we're launching the True Ink, and it's going to be sublimation ink that pretty much you don't need color profiles for, and you're able to get the consistent results that I get with my setup. And if you're interested in that, like I definitely want you to look out for it.
Right now, that's going to be on your webpage. How do I find out that information?
Yeah, well, I'm. Are you in the NA Creatives group?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I usually do like announcements there. So I'm gonna do a big announcement for that. But yes, it will be available on the website for purchase. So
Okay.
we're getting into the final stages of development for that, because I went back to the drawing board with my colors, and the whole thing with this one is it should have a true black. And you know how a lot of times when you're printing sublimation, you get that reddish black or a little purplish black, especially if you ever try to print. I don't know if you ever try to print black and white, a black and white image with sublimation.
Hmm.
The like whatever tint your black is what kind of comes through. So I would never get a true black and white image. So I've been kind of working on that. So this is going to be a true black, and most of the colors are going to be very true, rather than like uh, those blurples, like the little blue purples that you get when you're trying to get blues and that sort of thing.
Right. Right.
That's my biggest deal, what I'm trying to work out right now. So it's looks like I finally found the right combination of things, and I'm ready to put it out. So I'll make some video. I'll hype up some videos and show y'all some how tos on that. Okay, I
Will do.
promise. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm looking forward to that. All right, so go ahead, open up that template, the all over graduation with the roses. I think that will be an excellent one to work from.
Okay. So I need to just click on it.
Just click on it and it should open up. And I'm going to ask for request to remotely control. That means I can use my mouse on your computer, but I'm only going to use it if I have to. And the first thing I'm
Okay.
going to do is get your layout set up. You see where your layers are there, and pretty much I want your windows to look very familiar based on like how my videos go. Then that way you won't be lost like when you're looking for certain types of windows. So you should be seeing like your layers, your history, that sort of thing. And right now I see a
Okay.
few things missing, and I'm gonna go ahead and help you set that up off the bat. All right, now if you like this font, this Master Comics, matter of fact, even if you don't like the font, I'm gonna show you something. I want you to go ahead and open up like a Chrome window, some kind of internet window. And you saw the name of that font is called Master of Comics. So when you go to the browser, I want you to type in Master of Comics. Master's one word. And comics, COMICS, and then type the word font after that. There you go. And hit enter and go ahead and let's see what we find for that. I think it's on the font. You can go ahead, and this is the personal use one. So of course this is for your personal use. And it probably
Okay.
will
So
have some restrictions. Go ahead and, yeah, that top one is fine. I think that's the most common used one. And go ahead and hit download to the right up there. Now, anytime I'm missing a font, I try to make sure that it's a free font or it's a font that I sell on the website for $3. So, like some of my fancier fonts, like the one that has flames on it, or the repeat mirror font, those are fonts that I offer on the website. But if it's not on the website, most likely it's a font you can find for free. So
okay.
I'm trying to encourage this because I see so many people will start using the templates, And just because they don't have the font on their computer, they'll give up and just do it in like a basic little Times New Roman or something. And fonts really make your designs, okay? I
Okay.
fought it for a long time. Like I tried to use the same fonts, and no, the fonts, the typography really makes your design stand out. So go ahead, go to your folder. Well, let's see, where did it download? Bottom of the window, I want you to right click on that folder. Where it has that little zip folder which says Master Comics, right click on that for me. And I want you to go to Show in Folder. And that way it will open it up in whatever folder it's in. Okay. And then if it's just a single font, you don't have to unzip it. And I like to show people that you don't have to unzip it. You can just install it. But if you want to, you can unzip this. Right click and unzip it. That's the best way to do it, because some of these fonts have like 5 different variations, like the italic or the bold and all of that. You have to install each one separately unless you do it like this. Go ahead and hit Extract All. All right, and it's going to extract it to a folder in the downloads. And there that folder is. And see how you have 2 fonts there? It's because one of them is the back of it, because they wanted to put that little bold behind it. So what you can do, click the first one. And then I want you to hold down Control and click the second one.
So you just click it right here?
Not the check mark. I want to show you how you, like if you had a whole list of things, if you hold down Shift and select the next thing, let's say you had a whole list, like usually with these fonts, there's like 5 different versions of them, right? You don't have to click each one. You click the first one, hold down Shift, click the last one, and it selects all of those subsequent ones between the first one and the last one.
Gotcha.
All right, so now you can hit right click on the highlighted ones. So just right click somewhere on the words. And you want to go to Install. All right, so it's about to be party time because this font should be available now. All right, so go ahead, close out of this folder. If you're not using it, we're going to go ahead and close that. And we'll even go ahead and close out the browser so that it's not wearing down your internet resources while we're doing the screen share.
So if I hit up here, do I go ahead?
You just close that, or you can leave one window open. It doesn't matter. If you just have one window open, it's fine. I just, when we have a lot of different windows going on and Facebook in the background,
right. But I'm saying if I click right here, it's not clicking you off, right?
Oh no, it's not. Go ahead. That's a good fear, though. All right. So right now, just go ahead and hit Don't Resolve, because it doesn't know that you just installed that font. Now you see how the text over here on the Layers panel, you see how it has that yellow triangle, that caution symbol?
Yes, right here.
It has that caution symbol because it's telling you, hey, this font isn't installed. So if you try to change the word, like the name here, if you try to change it, it would shift it to whatever basic font it has on the computer, probably Myriad Pro or something like that, right? So now that you have the font installed, I want you to double click on the T that's next to Generia, the one that's actually visible. The one that's visible has an eyeball. So there's one that is not visible, and I don't know why I did that, but sometimes I'll create copies of font. So just double click the T, and it should make it directly editable. Did you double click?
Yeah.
Try it again. Usually if you double click, it's going to highlight the whole word. All right, if you don't mind, let me see if I can double click it. Okay, so that's what I was hoping would come up. So it's going to say editing or rendering the text layer will cause the layout to change. Continue. It doesn't know that the font is there, and hopefully it's there. So when we say okay, we'll know, because if the font changed to something totally different, see how it kept the font? It found the font. So it was that quick. All right, so now you can type. If you do, are you going to put any words on this one?
Let me see real quick if you pull up that text. I don't even know if she put her name in there.
And this could just be for your mock-up purposes too. Like if you want to, I'm thinking in the background, it would even be nice if we took the graduation cap out and you can put the little black and white horizontal lines that people like to use. That would be a nice addition. And
okay, that's fine. Well, I want to put because I guess it's her. She got right here. The first picture, just with her, she says "Loving 21."
Okay, so change the word Janaria to lucky.
So you say love you?
Oh, you said love you or lucky 21?
It say loving 21.
Okay, so put the word loving. And this is where you're getting into, yeah, I see it as something, but I'm gonna imagine it as what I need it to be. So that name, triple click. If you triple click, that means click 3 times real fast. You see how it selects the whole line? If you double click, it selects one word. If you
Okay.
triple click, it selects the entire line of text. So now you just start typing
Got
and
it.
it'll type over that. Okay. And that's my little fake. Okay. So we're just gonna put loving and take off. See, you got a trial font, personal use font, so it doesn't have those numbers. So we're gonna change the 2020 to the 21. Okay.
Okay.
Now I have my little makeshift. You see my little makeshift apostrophe there. Let's go ahead and let's take out. I think this might be an extra space behind that loving. Take that space out for me by hitting backspace. And let's see. Uh oh. I think we deleted the O. Yep. And go ahead and put the arrow, the right arrow, all the way to the back of the word.
Go ahead.
Can you use the arrow on your keypad and just keep going to the right, right, right until you get to the end of the word? You know how you have your up, down, left, and right? Go
Okay,
all the way
got
to the
you.
right.
Okay. To the right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. Go to the right one more time. Delete that space. And the reason why I tell you to do that, because if you have spaces at the end of your words, when it tries to center it, it's going to include the space. So go
Oh,
ahead and delete that space right there. Just hit backspace one time. Perfect. So now when we go to center this, it's going to center it about the real word and not anything extra we had hanging off. So that's perfect.
oh,
Now I want you to hit your move tool up here at the top. Mm-hmm. And now we have the text. It's kind of in place. It's formalized. What we want to do, if I don't know what this little apostrophe is that I made, if I right click on it, go ahead and right click on it. Yep. And see how whatever you're touching, it kind of shows you. And I don't know if we right clicked right on it. Try right clicking like right in the center of that red. Okay. And see that where it says shape one?
shape one. Yes.
Go ahead and click on shape one. All right, and shape one, if you go see how it automatically took you there in the layer so I didn't have to guess where it was, turn
All
that
right. Okay.
eyeball off and see if that works. Perfect, that was it. All right, so now you don't have to hunt for things in the layers. You know, if I physically click something on my artboard, it's going to tell me everything that I'm touching in that exact location that I'm clicking. Okay, so
Okay.
it kind of
Just
helps
real
you
quick.
find stuff.
When I right clicked on that and I seen everything come up, but how did you know it was shape one? Because there was a lot of words right there. There was a lot of
Right.
things.
Okay. So I know for a fact that the photos that we have brought in are those long numbers, and they had
Okay.
like remove BG at the end. I name these like photo one, photo two, photo three.
Oh, got
Um,
you. Okay.
right. So then that way, when you're right clicking, you know what you're clicking on. So as you learn to design, you're going to learn to name your layers. A lot of
Got you.
times, especially, when we're just designing something one time, we never name the layers. We just let it go. But when you design, I want you in your head to think that, hey, I'm designing for the purpose of reusing this at some point in time. Because if somebody likes that art, guess what? They're going to ask you, hey, I want that one, but I want my picture. So now that you're going to be in that kind of design mode, you want to think and organize that way. Okay.
Okay.
So that's why I say when you see it, just kind of visualize, okay, I know we're not putting a name on this, but the word's going to be loving 21. Let me take where the name was and put the word loving, and let me put where 2020 is and put the number 21. And you kind of can use the elements that are there to imagine how you really want to see the output. Okay, so since we said that, go ahead and I want you to right click on the word congratulations now on the artboard though, not on the layers. I want you to practice picking from the artboard. Right click. You see the word congratulations?
Yes.
Click that and go ahead and turn that eyeball off. And I want you to do something else for me. Go ahead and file save as so that you're not messing up and I'm not saying messing up, so that you're not altering the original file. Go file, save as, and go ahead and save it as something different. That way, in case we push it too far, we have our original version. All right. And I'm going to tell you to do two things. One, hit don't show again, because you're never going to want to save stuff to the cloud unless you want to spend a whole bunch of money saving stuff to Adobe's cloud. And then go
Okay.
to save on your computer. That way that'll never pop up again. And save it wherever you want to save it.
So right now I can just put it on my desktop.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you're just, wanting to move forward. Then you'll probably start figuring out the system and how you want to save your stuff. That's another organizational system that can drive you crazy. Looking for the file that you created at one time and you don't know what you named it or where it's located. So that's usually why my titles are very long, because I use them to search. Okay, yeah, there
Okay.
was a template that had some roses and they were throwing a graduation cap. So hence graduation caps, throw, celebrate roses. All right, so you're good on that. You can hit OK. All right, so we have loving. Now, I want you to turn off class of, and you can do that either, yep, you can see it clearly. You can just turn off the eyeball for it. And then I want you to double click on the T for 2020. Now, there's a difference between when you click on or double click on the icon, which in this case is that T. When you double click it, try to click a little bit faster. There you go. All right, now you can just type in the number 21.
Okay, where? But down here?
Now you don't have to touch anything. Just type a 2 and a 1.
Oh, this type. Okay.
Because when it's highlighted, that means it's going to replace it. Perfect. Okay, so now you already have a design ready to go. Okay, so in this case, you have the 21. Now, do you want the 21 to be gold or silver?
Let's go. Let's go gold.
Okay, and I was hoping you asked me that because then I can show you how to change it. So on the layers panel, okay, now if you go ahead and click in the layers panel where that 2020 is and double click on the FX. Okay, I want you to go to where it says color overlay. On the left hand side, it's a checkbox, but it's unchecked right now. Go ahead and check it off. And then move this little window to the right a little bit, so you can see it like your whole image, because I want to make sure that gold kind of matches the gold up top. All right, so right now it's on gold, but it's on normal, and we want to see that kind of metallic look underneath, right?
Yes.
So let's do a couple of things here. Let's make sure we select the color overlay, the actual word color overlay. Just go ahead and tap that one time, regular click.
Just click on it.
Yep, just click on the word there. Okay. And it says normal is the blend mode right now, but we know normal just shows us the color as is, no interaction with any other layers, right? So we're
Right.
going to play with the blend modes. So I want you to go to the drop down menu for normal. And I'm going to tell you to select color. Color is all the way at the bottom. And that's just kind of my go-to, and I like to see how color works first. And that did it. So sometimes I'll use multiply. I want you to practice, like whenever you don't know how something looks or blends with another layer, there's something called blend modes. So you can, and I don't know if it was something like that in the previous program you worked on, but those blend modes can make or break a design. So now instead of a flat gold, you see that metallic look underneath. Okay?
Gotcha.
And then if you want it back to silver, all you have to do is untick the color overlay box, and it was originally silver to begin with.
So if I was to unclick this, it'll take it off.
There you go.
Okay.
So if they say, oh, I'm not feeling the gold, like, hey, would you rather have silver? But most of the time people see it and they're just like, oh, I love it. And when you get the I love it, those are my favorite words to hear when it's design time. That means I'm done.
Gotcha.
All right, so you can go ahead and hit OK on that now. And now if you want to make the 21 bigger, or if you want to leave it as is, now I know that you're doing this on a pillow, so you want to keep in mind that it's going to be square orientation by the time that you're done, right?
Right.
Okay, so here's going to be my other suggestion. Your background right now is elongated, right? It's pretty much set for 13 by 19, right?
Okay.
So let's go. Let's click on the background, that whole group right there that has the eyeball on.
Okay. You said click on which one?
The
This
background
one?
layer. So we're going to be in the layers panel, and the one that says background. It's a whole folder.
Oh, background right
And
here.
so click on the word background.
Okay. Now there's two of them, right? So
Yes, click on the one that's visible. I don't know. Did I make a copy? I have to look at that template. All right, click on the one that's visible for me. All right, and for right now, I want you to turn the eyeball off and turn it back on so you can see what all is in the background layer. Okay, turn it back on now. So is there something that you see that you might want to automatically make not visible?
well, I definitely don't want the graduation hats.
Perfect. So instead of digging through the layers, I want you to right click on one of those graduation hats. Do you think you can figure out which layer it is from how it's named?
Yeah, the graduation cap.
Click on that. And then see how it expanded that folder for you and showed you exactly where that layer was so you didn't have to search for it?
Right
Go
here.
ahead and turn that eyeball off. All right, looking more like what you want to see?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now we're going to imagine that we're doing a square pillow. And in this case, it would be helpful to draw us a square up right now. What you think?
Okay.
Okay, or a rectangle, whatever shape the pillow is. So I want you to come over to the left-hand side. There is a shape tool, and it's a rectangle, but now at the top, that's great. That's a selection tool. It can make rectangles, but that's a
Okay, that's
rectangle
not it. No.
marquee. Okay, now look, you're in the right place though. Go all the way down. Do you see that there's another rectangle that's filled with the gray and it has a white outline? Keep going, and then hover over. You see how it's
Oh,
giving
right
you hints
here.
when you hover over it? And what does that
Gotcha.
say? Rectangle tool.
Right.
Draws rectangles. Bam. And it even did you see how I just showed you real quick how it
Yeah,
draws
yeah.
rectangles? So those are going to be helpful tips for you too. If you ever need to, click on that little help thing and it will bring up that window that's showing you right now. It'll bring up the
Mm-hmm.
help for that tool. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And so that'll be helpful too. But we know how to use rectangular tools. We've done graphics programs before. So we're gonna be bold and just go ahead and do it. So I want you to click on that tool. Got it? Did you click on it? No, click on the tool for me. Perfect. Yep. On the rectangular tool. All right, so now instead of drawing a rectangle, I want you to do something for me. I want you to just click, just one time, just tap anywhere on the artboard. Okay. Now what happens is it's giving us an option for making our own rectangle size. We don't have to guess it and drag it and try to get it right. So right now it's showing pixels, right?
Right.
We want it to show inches because that's how we know the size of the pillow, correct?
Correct.
All right, so let's right click where it says PX. Right click there and see if it gives you the option to do inches. Perfect. And go ahead and do the same thing for the height. And I want you to put in the dimensions for your pillow. Now, granted, you're probably do you do your pillows full bleed, or do you kind of have to leave white space on the outside because you can't quite get the full size?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Leave some on the outside because these right here, they have tassels on them. So I just really wanted to like fade it out, towards it, so it's not a full bleed.
Got you. And so that's what these masks do. If you can imagine that mask there kind of gives you the build. So what I want you to do, if it's a 18 by 18, perfect. Now what we can do is we can visualize how big this mask needs to be and how we need to fit it in there. Because it does the same thing, except you don't have to fade off the edges. You have some defined, cleaned, artistic edges now. Okay, so what I want you to do for that rectangle is, because we're going to use it as a guide, I want you to take that rectangle and in the layers, and I want you to drag it all the way up and put it on top of the layer that says keep on for printing and turn off for printing at the very, very top. We're going to take the layer, and I want you to drag it all the way up there and take it to the top. There you go, and let it go. Okay, so now it's up front, it's in our face, but it has a fill and it has a stroke. So look to the right side, you see your properties there. And it's all the way to the right in the center right. You see it? It says the word properties on that tab.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so what are the properties? The inside fill is that green color, right? I want you to click on that green color. and we want it to be transparent. So click the white box with the red line going through it. That means no fill. At the very top, yep, right there. And right now it has no outline. You see it has the white with the red line through it. We want to
Gotcha.
outline because we want to see what we're working with. So go to
Okay.
that outline.
You say go ahead.
Go to the outline and give it like a crazy color outline where you won't forget. Because if you make it a black outline, you might forget and print it. So make
All right.
it like a,
So click on this box
green or
where I'm
something.
at.
I'm sorry. Go ahead and click it. Try to click it one more time. Is it letting you click it? There you go. Go ahead. Click it one more time. Okay. Now select that green color because that was a pretty obvious green that we won't do. All right, and now I want you to make that stroke. Right now it's at 1 pixel, so we can barely see it. I want you to change that stroke from 1 pixel and maybe make it like, just drag it up till you can see it and it is apparent to you. So drag that slider to the right until you see it. Is it, wait, is it not showing? Okay, you know what? I think you might have to let it go in yours. Yep, so bring it back down a little bit. That's a good lesson. So let's bring it
Okay.
down to maybe like 12 pixels or something like that. That's good right there. Because all we're doing, we're using it to say, hey, what possibly is going to get cut off from the pillow. So if the pillow's a
Okay.
20 by 20 and you're printing like 18 by 18, then that's what you're working with. Or let's
No,
say
no.
you're,
The pillow is 18 by 18.
okay, so you print like 13 by 13 then, right?
Uh huh.
Okay, so perfect. This is excellent. So we made an 18 by 18 square. We don't want an 18 by 18 square. We want a 13 by 13 square. Okay. So what I want you to
So
do,
13. So the 13 by 13 would be too small.
well, do you print it? Do you still print it tall when it's 13? When it's a 13, do you print it like a square image or do you print it like 13 by 19 still on the 18 by 18 pillow?
Well, that's what I'm saying because this is like maybe the second or third pillow that I've
Okay,
done.
well, how about this? I'm going to give you my suggestion because my suggestion is to keep it with the tall orientation so that you might have some excess off the edges, but you full bleed going top to bottom, right?
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so if that's what we're going to do, we just have a square. It's not going to be to size right now because this is basically an all over shirt template. Or is this the 13 by 19? No, this is the all over template. Okay, so we just want to go with the square orientation. So let me just for a second. Let's go to that square and drag it to where it's at least going to, and then you're going to have to use your move tool now. So the top, at the left, the very top tool, get your move tool and do Control T so we can transform that shape. And I want you to move it to where the very left edge, we still get all of our print there, but the top left corner is going to encompass this whole, yeah, move it up a little bit, just a little bit more, and a little bit more to the left. A little bit more, because there you go. Because you want to clear any of your print right there, because you don't want it just clipped off, right? So
Okay.
now we're going to take this bottom part, the bottom right part of the square, that little square that you see. I want you to pull on it, pull it out. Perfect. And keep pulling it until you encompass the entire bottom of that design. All right. And as a matter of fact, I think we can even go. I think that's good right there because we're going to be able to manipulate this now. So now that you got it in place, you know what this would basically look like on an 18-inch pillow. It's going to still have the 13 by 19 orientation. Now I want you to drag this square to where it meets up in the center of the image. So you probably have to, there you go. You know what you're doing. And see how it kind of will snap towards the center? So you
Right.
see your middle points. And I believe this line right here should be the center. I believe that guideline in front of your face.
Yes.
See if you can, if it snaps when it gets close to that middle line. Or if it turns, see how it's turning magenta? It'll turn
Yeah.
magenta for the whole line. Go ahead and slide it a little bit more to the left. A little bit more, a little bit more. Right there. See how it turned magenta? That
Okay.
means that's the
Gotcha.
center for the entire document. Okay,
Gotcha.
perfect. Good deal. So that's kind of our layout space that we're working with. Now, when you get ready to print it, you're going to actually take this, merge it as a JPEG, and crop it down to whatever size you're going to print it to. Okay. This is just for
Okay.
layout purposes only. So what I'm seeing here is that, of course, we need to bring our photo in and then we'll be able to see, well, I don't want to go wider than 13, but you can absolutely build your image to kind of cover what you want it to cover. So go ahead and right click on the photo that's here, the example photo, right click on it and select it. And it's probably going to be one of those long numbers. As a matter of fact, are you in the selection mode now? Do you have the move tool selected? Because it might still, it's still in transform. And you have to hit enter. Hit enter for me.
Oh, hit enter. Okay.
Uh-huh. And that's something I I forgot to tell the folks last night. Oh, I think I told them when you transform something, you hit enter. So if they didn't hear me say hit enter, then they're looking at it, they're like, oh, it's so pixelated. It's really, really bad. I'm like, no, I mean, I know Remove BG don't do for the free preview isn't that great, but it shouldn't be horrible. And the thing was, it'll preview the image, and then when you hit enter, it will register that bitmap. So you
Okay.
have to hit enter after you transform. Otherwise, you'll be like, what? Photoshop won't do anything else. It locks up. It doesn't let you do anything until you hit enter. So if you ever get really frustrated and you keep hearing dong, 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 it's not letting you do anything until you hit enter, okay?
Okay.
All right, so we're good on this part. I want you to right click on the image, on one of the images there, and go ahead and select that long number right there. That's my bad because I should have named that photo 1. So now you see what the photos are. You can actually go ahead and turn the eyeballs off for all 3 photos. There you go. Okay, so now I want you to go to your web browser, and we're going to do a remove BG removal. That's kind of my go-to, and I've been cutting photos out for years, and I've discovered remove BG from one of the group members, and I'm not going back. It is a time saver, even for an experienced person. So if you like it, it might be worth it, especially for your business, to purchase the subscription. It's $9 a month. I do, but even if you just use the free version of this, it's still worth it. Okay. So now I want you to take where you had the folder where the images were, correct? And I think, did we close it out? Just find that folder for me where those images were.
I think I had them for
Because I know I have them in my downloads, but I want you to experience all of this from your computer, so you created it from the very beginning. I see the images. I see thumbnail and image 1526. I think those are the two images you sent me. So
just double click.
No, actually, if you drag it, I want you to drag it straight from that folder and drop it right on top of that browser window. Just drop. See how it turned gray? Drop it. Drop it. Drop it. No, drop it into the browser. No, drop it into the browser.
My fault.
It's okay, because you're going to do that too. You're going to drag it into Photoshop like that too. So that's
Okay,
how you drag it into Photoshop, just so you know. I know you jumped ahead.
Yeah, I did.
But yes, that's how you can bring pictures in. So go ahead and hit escape, and it won't lock that in. Okay, and let's go back to the remove BG window. And it should have, we didn't close out the browser. I think it's another browser you have open at the bottom right next to the Zoom. You have another Chrome open that was already open. Right there. And you see the one that says remove background?
Okay.
I guess there's a few Google tabs open right now. Okay, so just what you did. And instead of, you saw how it turned gray when you dropped it over this window? It's because you can drag and drop photos into this internet window.
Okay. So just go back into the folder.
Right. Go back to the folder, and I want you to drag and drop it right there on the remove BG. No. Drop it into the, see how it says drop image anywhere? Drop it right there. Just drop it.
Just drop it?
Yeah, let it go.
Oh,
okay. It starts cutting out the image for you, or starts trying to identify. Now, I think what it is too, this image is rotated. So let's try something here. I'm going to, let's see, I think I have mouse control. Let me see something here. And it might even be the file size. So let me right click. I'm going to open it in Photoshop just by itself. See what the properties are of the image. Oh, I guess it doesn't open automatically in Photoshop. Let me do right click, and then if something doesn't open in Photoshop and you want it to, you can usually go to file, and then you can do open with, and open with. See that option right there, open with? And you can choose what program you want it to open with. So if it always opens in Paint or that Windows viewer print option, you can make it start opening up in Photoshop. So we're going to go to image. I'm going to rotate it. Image rotation. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees clockwise. Okay. And it might have a problem like finding the foreground and background, but we're going to try this. So we'll go ahead and save it now and hope that that helps us. Save it as the highest possible version of it. And we're going to hope that that helps us cut out the background. And I'm going to close out these Chrome tabs that we're not using. That way it won't confuse you. Okay. All right, so let's try it again. Go ahead and go back to that folder and try dropping that new image in there. And you might have to scroll up. There it is at the top now. Yep, just let it go. Let it go, let it go, let it go. Okay, so, and I see this all the time when people take pictures in the car, because in the car it doesn't understand like what is the background, what's the foreground, but it's definitely helped us out. Okay, so we're gonna edit this. I don't like trying to edit it in this program because it's a little weird trying to use that big old round tool. So we're gonna go ahead and download it, and you can get the preview image and hit download right there, that blue download button. And this is a perfect example of how Remove BG doesn't always work like you want it to work. So let's go ahead and I'm going to show you how it works as a smart object. So you know how before you wanted to pull that image onto Photoshop, onto the artboard? I want you to pull it from the bottom of this internet browser and hover it over Photoshop. And then I want you to drop it on the artboard.
Okay, so I'm pulling it from right here.
Mm-hmm. And just, yep, pull it and hold it over Photoshop. And then once Photoshop opens, now you can hover over, see if it says all over graduation at the top, hover over that tab and it'll open that one up. At the very top where it says all over graduation, caps, throws, celebrate, hover over that tab and it'll open that artboard and keep it and then drop it on the artboard. There you go. You got it? Bam, it's in there. Okay, so go ahead and make it as big as you want to make it because we're going to clean this up in just a little bit. All right, and go ahead and hit enter. All right, you see how it was fuzzy and then it kind of cleared up a little bit?
Oh, yeah.
So now what we can do, this is a smart object. So I want to show you what a smart object means. So we pulled the image in. It's still editable as its own entity, as its own image. So I want you to double click on the thumbnail for that image. The thumbnail is the one with the checkerboard in the background. And double click it. Okay, and it opens up in its own window. So it is its own object, and we can clean this up right now. So I'm going to show you a pen tool, and if you don't mind just for a second, I'm going to drive so I can show you how I use the pen tool.
Okay.
The pen tool is one of the most intimidating tools, but once you learn it, it's going to help you tremendously, especially for cutting out images. Now I'm doing Control Plus right now just to zoom in, and then I'm going to take this tool, and I see it cut out pretty decent right here, so I'm not worried about that part. I see that it has the exterior or the interior of the car. So I'm using my pen tool, I'm clicking and I'm dragging, and it looks so easy. But when you start playing with it, you're going to be like, what? I don't get how it works. It's repetition that makes you understand how this works. Kind of like driving. To this day, I don't know how to back up right because I haven't done it repetitiously. Like, you know how you back up to park?
Right.
I don't, in parallel park, all of that is just repetition because you don't understand it. It's like, well, if I'm going left, but I'm looking, right, but it's just, when you do it enough, okay? So when you click and drag, you get the feel for where you need to make the next point, how you need to pull it. Do I need to do a sharp? If I do a sharp tap, it's going to make a corner. If I click and drag, it makes a curve. So I just did a sharp tack there because I want to abruptly stop that, and then I want to curve after that to get this part of his ear. So this part right here is what I want you to start practicing because pretty much Remove BG will do the most of the work for you. But when we end up with a situation like this, you're not going to give a client this type of image. So you're going to have to clean it up. So this is going to be one of those things that you learn, and as you go, you get a lot more comfortable with. As a matter of fact, I'm going to keep this at, well, let's make it a selection. So right now, this is actually a vector mask. I can make a vector mask around this whole image, but I'd rather show you how to clean this up right now. So I'm going to hit selection, and it's going to turn into marching ants, and I can feather it. Let's say I'm going to feather it 1 pixel just so that it doesn't look like crisp, clean lines. It's going to be a little bit feathered. I'm going to take my brush and create this is what you were talking about, like fading off the images and stuff.
Right.
So, a matter of fact, let you do this part. Go ahead and hit down here at the bottom. There's a layer mask. Tap that layer mask for me. Oh, I'm sorry. That's a good example. Do Control Z to undo. And what happens is when you have an active selection, like with the marching ants, and you create a layer mask, it creates a layer mask based on those active pixels. So it actually cropped everything to that little area, which is great to do when you have everything selected that you want. In this case, we want to just go ahead and make a new, fresh layer mask. So I want you to go up to Layer at the top menu. And actually, where it says like File, Edit, Layer, at the very top, the file. Basically, where do you go for your file? That's
Oh,
where.
right.
Yep. Now come over a little bit. There should be Layer.
Gotcha.
And let's do a layer mask. And this is going to be an arrow. So hover over layer mask, and we're going to choose Reveal All. Okay. So white is going to reveal and black hides. Okay, white reveals, black conceals. So we have a white layer right now. So everything's open and concealed and revealed. We want to conceal these parts of the card that don't belong with the picture. Okay, so what color are we going to paint in order to conceal?
Guess a little bit what, the black?
Black, right, because it's already white. White's revealing everything. I'm going to conceal with black. So I want you to look at the bottom left-hand corner of your toolbar here, and you'll see like a white swatch in front of a black swatch. You see that?
Right.
I want you to hit the little tinier version of that that's to the top left of that. It's like a little tiny version. Yeah, go ahead and click that. That resets your swatches to default, which is always white in the front, black in the back. Now I want you to hit the little tiny arrow right next to it, the double arrows, and that switches the color. So it reverses it. So now I have black in the foreground. That means I'm going to be painting with black. All right, so the next thing you want to do is increase the size of your brush, because that brush is going to take forever to erase that out. Okay, so let's do, let's right click. I'm sorry, right click somewhere on your artboard. Okay, and see how you can increase your size there?
Over here.
And keep on going. That's good, right about there. Now, I want you to hover before you make the selection. Hover over your artboard, and you should see how it changed the size of your brush. You can see it now.
Oh, okay.
All right, now go ahead and use that brush to just paint over that area. And it's not going to let you mess up. It's not going to let you paint on his ear or anything, because we have a selection right now. And see how it's blocking off how you can't affect what you don't have selected?
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And that's a way that you kind of just actively affect a certain area. Okay, you want to clean all that up. Great, looks good. Okay, so that was that part. Now I want you to do the same thing. I'll probably do the top of his hair there, because it might be a little difficult for there. Come over all the way to the right, and I want you to remove that seat from behind her shoulder. And the way that you remove it is you're going to have to make a selection. So go ahead and matter of fact, do Control D is going to deselect what we have selected right now. So hold down Control and then hit D. Okay. Now grab your pen tool. The pen tool was right above the T, that text tool. All right, and you just want that regular pen tool. All right, and make sure that you can get all the way to the right of that image before you start clicking. Matter of fact, if you hold down the space bar, it turns into a pan zoom, and then drag your mouse to the left to kind of make that visible over there. Hold down the space bar and then move it. See if it'll let you move.
Yeah, because I'm dealing with a a laptop with no mouse.
Oh, okay. You know, I never really figured out how to hold the. Okay, so what I'm gonna do then, I'm gonna let me truncate that for you. I'm just truncating that layers over there. We'll put it here so it's out of your way. So now you should be, and if there's something that's too hard for you to do with the mouse tracker, especially with this pen tool, it's because you're gonna at least need a mouse. It actually works really well with the stylus, but I always use a mouse to do this part. Okay, so you want to start somewhere, and then I want you to click and drag. So start maybe here. Okay, I'm gonna start you off. And then I want you to click and drag. Matter of fact, I'll do it and then I'm gonna undo it. Click and drag and get the shape of that shoulder, at least to that point, okay? So I'm gonna escape and I want you to do it. Now when you make your first point, you just tap. So go ahead and undo that first one, Control Z.
Control Z.
Because when you start stretching it, you set the mode for the next point. So Control Z one more time. Okay, and let's see, edit, hold on, let me see. Okay, so I'm gonna hit escape so that it doesn't commit that path. And the first one you do, you just wanna tap the first one. So tap the first one, and then the next one that you do, you're gonna click and drag to make a curve. So tap the first one, there you go. Now the next one, I want you to click and drag, like the peak of her shoulder. At the very peak. Then don't go too short, there you go. A little bit right at the top of her shoulder.
Right there.
Okay, and now click and pull. You see what it's doing?
Yeah.
Okay, so what you have to do is I want you to imagine, like, you know how if you were painting something, right? Or you're sketching with a pencil, you know the way that you do your strokes, you start at one point and you kind of stroke it like a curve when you're trying to sketch like somebody's outline of their head or their shoulder or something. So I'm going to do this again. I'm going to show you, and I want you to keep in mind how you would do this. So let me hit escape here just to get you out of that. Okay, so I'm going to show you again. So while I'm doing it, I want you to imagine that, okay, I'm an artist and I'm painting right now. And when I paint, I take my paintbrush and I give myself a little curve. And then I take the next stroke and I give myself a little curve. You see how it, like, one curve is building on the next curve?
Gotcha.
So it's almost like a brush stroke rather than, okay, I'm clicking. Okay, so that's how I used to do things. I would click, and then all my images would be cut out and have these little corners in it. Okay, so we want curves, you know, it makes it a little more natural. So I'm going to escape, and I want you to try that one more time to curve that shoulder. And if you curve that shoulder, that's all I'll make you cut out with a pen tool today, and I'll let you just practice that at a later time.
All right,
okay?
stay click. Now
Click first. Did you click the first one?
Yeah, click.
Okay.
Click again, right?
You're going to click and drag for the second one. Okay, don't pull it out too long. You see what starts happening. As a matter of fact, let me zoom in for you. Hold on. It might not let me zoom in for you. Hold on. Okay, that'll be better. That's going to give us, and then you see how I'm using my pan tool. I hold down my space bar, it turns into that little white glove. And now I can move my stuff around. You can do that in the middle of a pen action. So we're going to escape, get out of that. Okay, so I'm going to show you one more time with the close-up view. Okay.
Yeah, I got to practice.
I'm tapping. And this is going to take some practice. I promise you, I'm still not the best at this. This stuff used to scare the mess out of me. Hence why I would click everywhere. All right, so one time I tapped. The next time I'm going to come to right about here on the shoulder. And I'm going to see, as I'm pulling it out, it's making that curve for me. Right? And then I click again. And see how one curve affects the next curve?
Right.
So I'm making it look easy, but it's really, I just know not to make my little handles too long. You make them too long, guess what they start doing? They start waving up and making stuff look crazy. So you want to be inside of that previous one. And then I can come out here. And then, I'm going to go ahead and do this because this is going to be really hard for you to do on the mouse.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
But I do want you to practice this, okay?
No, I will.
This will definitely be something that once you figure out, it'll help you tremendously. Okay, so I have that selected. I'm going to choose selection here. Tell it I'm going to feather it 1 radius. And go ahead, grab your brush, and I want you to brush away that seat in the back.
So I'm grabbing the brush from here.
The brush from the toolbar on the left-hand side.
Right, but I'm
Sorry, I
coming
might
with.
have selected the brush the first time. So select your brush. It looks like a paintbrush. It's on the left-hand side. Yep. Go up, go up, go up. Yep. A little bit. No, yeah, right there. And people get confused because there's a brush tool and there's a history brush, but that's the proper one. All right. And now you want to paint inside of. Well, first make sure, just to make sure that you're on the right thing. Go to your layers and make sure that you are selecting the layer mask. So you can open up those layers right there. Do you know what your layers icon looks like? It's right
You talking
underneath
about
the
this?
history now. And if you don't know, you can always go to Window and Layers, and it'll pop open for you. So go to Window and then do Layers. That's my thing. Like if people can't find it, like it's just not there. It's there. See what happened? It just popped open for you. So
Gotcha.
once you get familiar, you'll see that, hey, that little stacked square on top of a stacked square, that's the layers panel. All right, so now you're in layers, but you do not have the layer mask selected. And I know because when you select the layer mask, it gives you these little these corners around the white part. So I want you to select just the layer mask, and say okay to that. The way you select the layer mask is you actually come over here to that white rectangle and you click it 1 time. And see how it shows you it's actively selecting it by showing you that it's got these little corners going around it?
Correct.
All right, so now you're on the layers, the layer mask. Now you can paint away, and it won't affect your original image. So those pixels are still there. All you're doing is hiding them. There's a difference between deleting pixels and hiding them. All right, so go ahead and do Control D for me to deselect.
Control Z.
Control D to deselect. I'm sorry.
Oh, D.
All right, and see how it feathered it off a little bit so it matched the original cutoff? So
Okay.
it doesn't look like part of this was cut real clean and then another part was faded off.
Right.
All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and do that little part that was over there by his head. Uh-oh, my bad. I think I did that. Let me undo that brush stroke right there. And I'm doing Control minus to zoom out. You do Control plus to zoom in, Control minus to zoom out. And I'm going to get right there at the top of the hair, hold down my space bar and pan it down. And I'm going to do my best to keep these nice curls up here, but we're not going to spend all the time. Oh, as a matter of fact, let me show you. I'll use this opportunity to show a different tool. So you have the quick selection tool, okay? The quick selection tool tries to guess what you're selecting. And this brush size is a little big to try to do this particular area. So let's say a little bit smaller. Okay, perfect. So now if I select the quick select, now this is something you can do without a mouse. I'm going to do it first. I'm just selecting that area and it guessed everything that it was touching that, hey, you don't want all this, right? So I want you to do that. I'm going to Control D to deselect, and I want you to use this quick select brush just to kind of do a real quick stroke. Don't try to select it all, just do a real quick stroke inside of that color of the headliner there. And now add to it. There you go, you're adding to it. Perfect. All right, you got it. So now what I'm going to do for this one, same thing, or what you're going to do, go to make sure you're on your layer mask. Can you tell if you're on your layer mask?
That's this one here.
Yep, you got it. And go ahead and paint away that background there. So grab your paintbrush and make sure you have black selected as your foreground color when you do.
Right,
Now
but it's still.
see now you're on the image layer. So you see the difference? When you're on the image layer, you see that? It's selecting the actual image. I want you to be on the layer mask.
So I gotta hit Control D.
No. You're fine. The selection is just the marching ants. You want to see how before you had selected the white rectangle where the layer mask is, go ahead and click on that, because you're going to paint on the image right now if you paint anything. We want to paint on the mask. Right there. Now paint. Perfect. Perfect. All right. So now you can do Control D to deselect. Control D to deselect. Got it. And now, and I want you to notice something here. See how it's like really pixelated, real jagged right there, right?
Right.
Let's go back a second. Do Control Z to undo. And Control Z one more time. Now, before we paint those pixels off, remember how I told you can kind of feather it a little bit? You have the option right now. Now you have to be in one of the selection modes. So go back to your quick select tool.
Quick select.
That was the paintbrush that has the little marching ants. So it's on the tools right below the lasso right there. Perfect. Okay, now when you have that selected, you see how you have an option at the top that says select and mask? I want you to click on select and mask at the very top of the toolbar. Yep. Or the workspace. Perfect. So this is giving you an opportunity right now to feather that little edge. Remember last time, what did we do with feather? Is 1 or 2 pixels?
All right, say that again.
Did we do the feather? Remember last time when I was making a selection and I told it to feather the radius? Did I tell it to do a 1 or a 2 pixel radius?
Oh, I think it was a 2, I think.
Okay, well come over here to radius and you'll see it says 0 pixels right now. And give it a 2 and see what it looks like. It should soften that up, okay? All right, so now what I want you to do is, and I'm going to show you for this one, it says transparency. Let me change you to the mode that I feel like shows you best. Let's see, if I go to view and I go to overlay, usually I do the red overlay, and then I'll do a pretty good opacity where I can see how it starts fading that off. So I'm going to take the radius all the way back down to 0. See what it did? It was very precise. I bring the radius up to about 2, then it kind of fades that off a little bit. So now if that mask is okay with you, you'll say okay. And now it looks like the same thing selected, but it's not. So now I want you to grab your paintbrush and paint inside of that selection and see if it fades it off a little bit better. You got it. All right, now just do your select and you are Control D to deselect. And see, that's just a way of making it look a little bit more feathered. Okay. So I think this looks good. I think there's some things you possibly could, if you wanted to get really specific, like you can clean up the inside here, but I think it looks good for the purpose of going ahead and putting it into our template. So there's one thing I want you to do right now is make sure that you save this, because this is your smart object. If you save it here, it's going to update wherever you placed it before. So do File, Save, or you can do Control S. All right, and once you save it, now you can come up here to this little tab and click that little bitty X that's there next to the where it says Layer Mask and /8. There's a little bitty X just for this tab. Yep. And see how it updated your image?
Oh, yeah, look good, yeah.
You did that. Okay, so the next thing was you wanted to figure out how to fade off, right?
Right, but you know, we got that single picture of her.
Okay, so we're gonna add that one too. Okay, great. So go ahead. Now you know the process. Go ahead and pull that one into remove BG, and I'm gonna sit back and watch you. Actually, I think I'm gonna eat my sandwich. Is that okay?
So it should be, I guess, this one. No, here, go ahead.
That's it.
Guess I don't do that right.
That's your zoom. Slide it over to, yeah. It probably would be easiest to go ahead and open up your Chrome first. Are you doing good? I actually got to chew a whole bite without having Talk with my mouth full. That means you're on it. All right. Were you able to drag and drop it on there?
I guess it did, and I thought it did. Try this again.
Yeah, try it again. Don't worry, I'm here.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Right. See where it turned gray? When it turned gray, that means it was ready for you to drop it. So, okay, what's going on? I think it's this Zoom. Let's close out of this window. You have 2 windows right now. Just go ahead and exit out of that. You don't need that. Your Zoom is probably running on your computer right now. All right, so let's close this whole set of windows here. Let's just close that out. All right, so now you only have 1 Chrome window that you can play with. And you can move this around a little bit so you see what you're doing. Now I want you to drag it from this folder and just drop it anywhere on this whole web page. Okay? Just drag and drop it. How easy was that?
Too easy.
All right, cool. Go ahead and download that one for me. Oh, you know what to do. Now, how would you get it into?
Oh, you know what? I did that wrong. Okay.
It's okay. You can. Matter of fact, this is great. Go ahead and close out of these other windows you don't need right now. Close out of that thumbnail and close out of that other image because you don't need it.
So you say the thumbnail up here?
Go ahead and close that out. If it asks you
Close
to
it
save,
out?
yeah, close it. If it asks you to save, say no. Oh, you know what? You got to hit enter or escape. One of those. Escape will undo what you just tried to place, and enter just transforms and locks in a transformation. Yep. And go ahead and close this other window out too. This image 1526, we don't need that one.
This one?
No. That's the one we're working on. That one.
This
You can
one.
close that one out. That way you just have less tabs open to confuse you. All
Okay.
right. So let's try it again. Now when you drag it, you should only have 1 window you can drag it to. And if that happens, go to anytime I ask you to rasterize something, you know you probably did something wrong. So hit cancel and go ahead. And if this ever happens, just hit this maximize right here.
Okay.
I lied. Hold on. It maximized it. I mean, snap it to the inside of the window. So see, I'm pulling it. It's going to turn blue wherever it can snap. Bam. And then I drop it. So now we're back to looking like normal.
Okay.
Just
So
those little
that
things
picture.
will frustrate you too. So, all right, we're good. Okay, so go ahead and pull the image from your Chrome. It was saved in the at the bottom of the Chrome, and pull it into your Photoshop.
So I'm pulling from right here. Okay.
Yep. You had it last time. It's just the window wasn't ready for you. So now we have a window ready. So yep, you got it. And you can go ahead and resize it while you have the transform. Look at you. You remember to hit enter too. Good job. All right. So now we're going to fade off. You ready for the fade off?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Go ahead and add a layer mask. If you remember where the layer mask is to that thumbnail, you have the thumbnail already selected, or you have the photo already selected. I want you to go down to the bottom of the layers panel, that rectangle that has a circle in the middle. That's your layer mask. Hit that. And see how it made you a layer mask right there?
Okay. Now real quick, what is the purpose of the layer? I mean, what is the purpose of that?
Okay, so a layer mask is like a picture frame, right? If I wanted to show the entire picture, I would just have a big old open frame, right? It would be an open white box. But where you frame things off, where you mask things off, is where you're basically, let's say if I had a big rectangular frame around it, that rectangular frame is going to cover up some of the picture. So what happens is the mask allows you to cover up some of the picture, okay? And we get to select what parts of the picture that we cover up while maintaining the original pixels. So I could tell you right now to go grab that eraser and erase the bottom of the image, but what happens? It's destructive, and those pixels never exist again, right?
Okay, gotcha.
But when you do a layer mask, if I mess up a little bit, all I have to do is keep playing with my mask, and I never edited my original picture.
Okay, gotcha.
Got it? So right
Okay.
now, the background is totally gone. When we did remove BG, deleted pixels, okay? But in this instance, we don't want to remove pixels. We want to manipulate the mask around the pixels so that we can fade it off and maybe, oh, okay, I took off too much hair. I can come back and bring the hair, okay? So I'm going to show you real quick what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to undo it, and I want you to do it, okay?
Okay.
So I have the brush tool selected right now, the brush tool, but I'm working on the mask. If I try to paint on the image, you're going to get an error because it's a smart object. It won't let you paint on the image. But because I'm on the mask, it's going to let me paint. But I want you to see that this brush is mighty small to be fading off, okay? So there's a couple of things you can do. You can right click like I showed you before and increase the size. And I can keep coming over here to my artboard. That's not quite big enough. And I can keep playing it that way. Or I'm gonna hit escape. I'm gonna tell you the combination keys to hit. You're gonna hold down Control, then Alt, and then you're gonna right click. Now this might be a little hard to do since you don't have a mouse, so that's why I'm doing it. But see how I can change the size of my brush, and I'm actively seeing the size of it without
Gotcha.
having to go into any menu. Okay.
Okay.
So that is, and you'll be able to watch this again later. Control Alt, and then I'm gonna right click and I'm dragging left to right is gonna make it bigger. Up to down is gonna make it a hard brush versus a soft brush. Okay.
Okay.
So now I have that. Now you can do this even if you're not using a mouse. You see what I just did? I just brushed across that bottom. I'm just gonna brush across these hard edges because you know those hard edges give me heartburn. I can't do it. All right, and see, it just looks more natural, has much more of a flow with the image that is even overlapping. Then that way, when you do your collages, that fade off just helps make that transition that much better. And let's say, for instance, oh my gosh, I faded off way too much of her hair. Let's say I do that on purpose and show you. All right, too much, right? I can
Mm-hmm.
go back with my white because I haven't actually deleted anything. So what I say, black is going to conceal, and what does white do?
Go to reveal.
Right. So I'm gonna come in with my white now and say, okay, well, I got to build that hair back. Like it would be a
Oh,
ridiculous
okay.
waste of my pixels to not show that beautiful hair, right? So I'm gonna
Okay.
build it back in.
Wow. Okay.
Okay. And then if I need to, I can make my brush a little bit smaller because I still see that little hard edge right there. But I'll come in and I'll make that black, and I'll just come in and kind of like randomly make it a little wavy right there. So then that way I don't have a harsh line where it cut off her hair there. Okay, so
Okay.
that's it. Now I'm gonna let you do this to the next image. So I'm gonna turn this eyeball off so you can see what you're doing. And you're gonna do everything from create the layer mask, make your brush a little bit bigger. You know how to right click and make your brush bigger. And I want you to fade off the edge and then these sides over here that are abruptly cut off. And you can even do it with a circular shape towards the edges.
Oh, so you just do it on this one?
Make sure you select the right image though.
Okay.
Because the last image that I just did is
So
selected.
what I can do is if I don't know where the image is, I can just right click. No,
Hmm.
no, no.
Well, you would have to be on the move tool to right click.
Okay. So if I go here
Hmm.
and right click,
There it is.
there go my image.
Yep.
It's like right here. So I
Hmm.
need to do create a layer mask.
Hmm.
Go here.
Now it looks like something just happened. Hold on a second. Oh, it looks like you moved it into the background, which that's cool too. Do you notice what it just did when you moved it to the background?
No, I didn't even. To tell you the truth, I didn't even see what.
Okay, so remember it had those hard edges on the outside?
Right.
Well, what happened was you dragged it into the background layer, and the background layer already has a layer mask. If you see that black and white little shape on the background layer,
Okay.
it clipped it into that layer mask. So now all you would really have to do is fade off the bottom there. So you can still fade off the bottom. I just wanted to let you know that's what just happened. Because I was like, well, what happened to the size of the picture? It clipped it inside of there. So
Oh,
yeah, go
gotcha.
ahead and grab you're on the history brush. You want to be on the regular brush. The two options up.
Oh, I want this one. I want this one here.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So I'm gonna right click.
Uh-huh. Now you can type in a number there too. If it like that's a little too small, do me a favor, undo that one. I'm gonna give you a number. Type in the number 1200. Go ahead and
So
undo
just
that.
do
Control Z.
Control D,
Uh huh.
Control
Control
Z or D.
Control Z to undo. And do it one more time. Um, let's see. Try it one more time. Control Z. You holding down Control and then hit Z.
Yep.
All right. Let me get your history. Do you know where your history is? So if it looks
Nah.
like you can only undo one time, it might be a setting in your Photoshop. If you go to your history, which is right above this, you see this layers icon. You have like this arrow that points to the top little. How about this? I'm gonna click on it right
Yeah.
here. Hold on, right here.
Okay.
See that? That's your history, and you can actually drag it and make it longer. And see, these are all the things that it can go back to. So if you just did that brush tool and you want to go back, you can hit however many steps you need to go back until you get back to, and it's probably going to be all of those brushes right there, all those brush strokes. Okay, we're in there. So for the brush size, when you right click, put in the size, you can type in that number right there, put 1200. Let me see what 1200 looks like. Okay, and hover over your space. Perfect. Now, what I want you to do when you go in to stroke this, I don't want you to put the whole brush on there. I want you to imagine, let's say, when you're spray painting something, they tell you to mist over it,
Okay.
and then you build up on it as you go. I
Gotcha.
want you to kind of come to the edge and then build up a little bit, okay?
Gotcha.
And try to do it in a solid stroke, left to right, left to right, instead of stopping. Because when you stop, it's just like spray painting. If you stop while you spray painting, it'll get these little, drips and stuff. Now make sure that you're on the layers and that you're on the layer mask. Are you painting right now?
Yeah, moving it. Yeah, I must not be on it.
Maybe. Let's see what you are on. Go ahead. Let me close out this history here and open up your layers. Yeah, you're on it. Oh, you know what you have selected right now? What color do you have selected?
Oh.
So
Shit.
now, yep, that's how you get black. Now you can cancel out of that. You can manually pick black, but it's always easier to just go straight to the default. Now the way that you get black is you have to switch it from the background to the foreground. Yep. Okay, that's it. So go ahead and kind of mist across that bottom and see how you stopping. Just go straight across. Trust yourself. You can always come back and add it. Trust yourself. Oh, I forgot you're using the mouse pad, so it's hard to kind of hold it down. But you're doing it. You see that? You did that.
Yeah. Okay.
Doesn't that look much more pleasant to the eye?
A whole lot better.
Yeah. Okay. So go ahead and turn on the image, the other image that we had. I want to say it's that one that says thumbnail preview, right underneath loving in your
So
layers panel.
on this right here, to get rid of this, all right, to get rid of the brush, so I hit enter.
No, if you want to get rid of the brush, go ahead and select the move tool. That's always your best move. Best move is the move tool.
Oh, okay. Now her.
One more up. Right underneath loving. Go ahead and turn that eyeball on. And when you turn on, you'll know it's wrong. So
Oh,
go
no.
to one right above that. There
Okay.
you go. And now you can layer, like, you have a lot more space here. So I don't know if you want to put, since this is a square design, you might want to put the loving on the left and then the 21 to the right. And then go ahead and pull the single image down a little bit, and then the couple image can be in the background.
Okay. So I want Control T.
Well, right. Well, that's going to select your background image. So remember, if you don't know what you're selecting, you just right click on the artboard and it'll give you some hints. Thumbnail, yep. And you can even drag it left or right. Whatever you feel like gives you your balance.
Yeah, I was trying to get the loving 21 underneath her since it was her birthday, and then try to
Gotcha.
do something with the with both of them somewhere else.
So I would keep that image. We'll pull it down just a little bit. Um, just a little bit because we want to be able to clear the other photo. Pull it down just a little bit, right about there. Okay. And
Okay.
then take your background image and pull it up a little bit, or you could even make it smaller if you want to. So the couple photo, right
Right.
click and select it. Control T. Make it a little bit smaller so it's not so that the background image isn't bigger than her face in the foreground image. Then go ahead and now when you get it about the size you want, pull it up. That way you can, there you go, you can place it where you want. And now we remember I told you those little hard edges were still on there.
Right.
You can manipulate that layer mask and fade off those edges if those edges are going to show. Now,
All
if you
right. I
want to
think I
make them
just
bigger where they were cropped off before, just you're going to miss some of the roses because their picture's going to be so big in the background. But you can do it that way too.
right, but I think I did something wrong here.
You just shifted it off to the side. Let me see. Let me see if I can pick you up. Hold on. I'll put you right there, and then I'm gonna get. That actually works out perfect. I don't even have to clean those edges up. That's perfect.
Okay.
Now for the loving, I would right click, select my loving, and then pull it where you want it now. And it doesn't have to be at that angle anymore. And then maybe you make the 21 a little bit bigger. You can control T that too.
Okay.
And size it a little bit. I know it's hard to work on that trackpad, but you get the general idea that you just basically now it's more of less about the skill and more about visually how you're seeing it and what you want to see. So
Yeah.
let's say you want to take loving and make it bigger. You can make it bigger and you can even rotate it. So remember how I told you Control T transforms it? It also allows you to rotate it. So hit Control, go to right click on loving, select loving, and then I want you to hit Control T. Uh-huh. Control T. And now I want you to go up to one of those corners. Yeah, and if you hover right above the outside of the corner, it turns into a little curve. All right, and then you can curve loving down. Or I was just trying to tell you to straighten it out a little bit, unless you want it to
Straighten
be
up.
at an angle. Because the way I had it all that text was all at an angle. So if you want it to be straight, you can kind of straighten it up a little bit. And it doesn't have to be completely straight. And that looks good right there. I just didn't want it to be so much at an angle that it was coming into where it was looking like it was going to cut into her face. So let's say that looks good. And just play with your placement. Now I know you may not want to get too close to the edges, but like you said, the pillow is going to have this white space on the edge anyway. So as long as you're steering clear of the very bottom of the pillow, because you know it has that bulkiness to it, you never want to put words too low on your pillow design. Because you think it's going to look good, and as soon as you put that insert in there, it kind of makes it pucker and disappear. So so that looks good, and that's why I didn't want you to put their faces too close to the top either, because that's also something that could easily happen. So it looks good. I would say maybe, let me see. I'm going to give you a suggestion and make the word loving a little bit bigger. So maybe it touches the 21, kind of overlaps the number 21. And then maybe you can even make the 21 a little bigger. And those are just my design suggestions. That's not law. Mm-hmm. And kind of bring it over to the right a little bit because you don't want to get too far off your mask. because you know you don't really have any paper past where that mask ends.
Okay.
That looks good. And then if you make that 21 just a little bit bigger and maybe put the 21 underneath the loving. So hit enter if you want to lock in that transformation. And actually the 21 looks good at that size. I would put the 21 in the layers. I would drag it underneath loving. And then I think I would go with loving on top of the 21, but let's see how it looks.
Okay, so you take this.
You got to click it first though. There you go. Click it, grab it, and drag it down. Right there underneath loving. Perfect. You got it. But in front of the photo though. Right there. Right there. You got it. So, I might nudge the 21 over just to the right, just a little bit. And you can also use your arrow keys if that mouse is kind of getting on your nerves. As long as you're on the move tool, if you use the arrows, it'll shift it too. Good. I think that looks good. To where you have a little bit of like the shadows overlapping, but you still read everything just fine. I think that looks like a great design.
It does. The only thing that can I do the roses? I can't remember. I think it's I think this might be. I think it's like a beige. So this should show up right all right on that pillow. I don't think the pillow is white.
So now, if the pillow is not white, then what's going to happen is everything that is white is just going to be whatever the color the pillow is. So if the pillow is like one of those burlap colors, or like you said, like an off-white or beige, then you just have to preview that to the customer. And the way you do that, the easiest way to do that is honestly to take this little square right here, the rectangle, and take the fill. And instead of no fill, I'm going to choose a color. Uh-oh, that's not what I meant to do. I didn't mean to choose a gradient. I meant to pick a color. Let me go to the pastels here. All right, so usually that kind of color is going to be somewhere in your oranges, like a really light kind of peachy ivory color. Okay, so I just made that peachy ivory color. Then what I would do instead of normal, I would do something like multiply. Does that look more like what the color is?
Yeah, it's like an off beige. Yeah, I think that'll work. Yeah.
And if that's too colorful, like it's not quite that off white, then you can double click and change that color. It's giving me taking a little time. There we go. So I can bring it closer to white and widen it up a little bit. Now I wouldn't print it like that. That's unless they wanted, like if they said, hey, you have a white pillow, but I want it to look off white, then you might have to add that kind of this color layer to it just to kind of make it look like it's the off-white color. But I was just doing this to suggest to you that, you send a customer a mock-up that's on white and they don't necessarily understand that, okay, so all of the areas that are white, like her teeth and the whites of her eyes, are going to have the color of the fabric, right?
Gotcha.
But they understand it as long as it's a gray or like you said, like an ivory or a light color that is not a tinted color like blue or green, they're fine.
Oh, no.
But
Right,
as soon
okay.
as you sublimate on something that has color to it, that's when the confusion happens. So as long
No,
as
it's like an off white.
okay. Well, then I wouldn't worry to do that as far as
Okay.
Proof it to them, because then
Right.
they'll ask you questions about it. You don't need all those extra questions. But yeah, so this is a design that's ready to print. Do you need to change the colors of the roses or the colors of the words, anything like that?
No, I think I'm good with that right there, because he got like some red in his tie and stuff like. I think I'm good.
And I think the red roses for love too, and that's her fiance. It goes together.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
The other thing I wanted to teach you is if you were getting ready to print this, of course, it's for an all over t-shirt at this very moment, right?
No, it's for a pillow.
Well, the template is. Let me put it that way.
Oh,
The
I'm
template
sorry.
is
I'm
built
sorry.
for.
Yes.
Yeah, I got you. So you're absolutely correct. Go ahead and we're gonna make a new document just for the pillow. Okay. Now the pillow is gonna be a 13 by 19. I mean the print for the pillow is gonna be 13 by 19, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let me show you how you would do this. We already did a save as. And when we saved it as, we created our own version of this, okay? So we don't have to worry about messing up our original. I want you to
Okay.
go to your crop tool over here. These, even the all over shirts, are meant to crop down to a 13 by 19. So hit your crop tool. You got it. And I don't want you to actually pull it down. I want you to type some numbers in at the top where it says ratio. The first empty box, I want you to put 13. That's going to be the width of your paper. And the next one, I want you to put 19. And it kind of gets you down to that ratio. Now you can understand that you're going to have a little extra white space that you don't need. So you can pull the corners here for the, it's going to keep, because you put in the numbers 13 by 19. See how it's keeping the 13 by 19 ratio, but it's
Yes.
allowing me to shrink it down a little bit. Now, what I
Okay.
don't want to do, I don't want to get so close that I cut off these edges, because the whole point of having the little artistic mask is so that you don't have those hard rectangles, right? You don't want a rectangle on top of your square pillow. You want to
Okay.
make it look like it flows, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, I think that's about as good as you're gonna get for your 13 by 19. But you see you have a little white space at the top, a little white space at the bottom, so that's gonna fit perfectly on your 18-inch pillow. But I need to hit enter. I want you to hit enter. Because once you hit enter, wait, I'm sorry, stop. Don't hit enter yet. No! Did you hit it yet? Okay.
No, no, no.
Take a look at the top there. There's a checkbox that I always tell people to uncheck. And once you uncheck it, by default, it should remain unchecked. It says delete crop pixels. Uncheck that. Perfect. Now hit enter. Then I'll tell you the story about what delete crop pixels does. So hit enter one more time, because usually you have to hit it twice. Perfect. So it's cropping right now. It's thinking and it's cropping. Well, if you hit delete crop pixels, it'll actually, everything that's on the outside that we once had, that beautiful all over design for the shirt, it would just
Right.
erase it all. So if you ever wanted to use it for a different application, let's say you were going to do a long pillow instead of a square pillow, you would have lost all of your information that was on the outside of this particular crop area. Okay.
Oh,
So
wow.
when we take that off, and the file is bigger because we're going to have data outside of our artboard, but it preserves that data outside of the artboard.
So from now on, I don't have to look for that. It's automatically defaulted.
It should, now when you unselect it or deselect it, it should remain deselected, but that's just something I check for. Every time I crop something down, I'm making sure I don't delete my crop pixels, because I could have had something back there that I forgot about. It might have been another picture I was supposed to use. And if I crop those pixels, it might crop off half of that person's face and I have to recut the picture or find it again. So for my purpose, because I'm always thinking in template mode, I don't think, hey, I'm going to use this one time. If it deletes the crop pixels, then fine. I'm thinking, hey, I'm going to use this at a later point in time, and I don't want to mess up this if I plan on making this into a template. Okay. So yeah, you're good on that. Now the image size is not 13 by 19. So I want you to go up to where it has file, edit image. I want you to go to image. And go, I'm sorry, you said file, edit, go to image. Image is right next to edit. Image, and then image size. And after this, I had a 4 o'clock and I forgot. So, but we're at a perfect stopping point. So we're gonna get this done. Go
Okay.
to, see right now it has the image width. It's still a big file, right? Because we brought it
Right.
from this all over shirt. We want this to officially be a 13 by 19. So it reduces the size of the file. So before you change it, look up there to the image size. This is 46 megs right now, right?
Right.
Go ahead and change that width to 13.
13.
Mm-hmm. And see how it immediately made it 15.9 megabytes and it was 46.6?
Right.
So when you hit OK to save this, now you have officially turned your all over template to a 13 by 19 template.
Okay.
So now you can save this. That's why I tell people, if you buy the all over, you don't need to buy the 13 by 19 version of it, because you can make your own 13 by 19 version. So go ahead and hit OK. And then when you save this, the next time you save it, I would just take off the words all over, because no, it's no longer the all over design. It's 13 by 19 design.
Hit okay.
Yep. It's doing that because remember before I didn't know that you had that text in there, or that font. We installed the font. And don't you like the design more that you have the font that you saw from the design versus like, oh, I'll just substitute it with something crazy.
Yeah, the substitute or anything. Yeah.
So I'm trying to encourage people, when you get a template, do your best to get the font that's on that template. So then that way, when you show it to a customer, like you can use my proofs. If you didn't buy all of my templates, which I'm sure a lot of people haven't, and you say, okay, well, I don't know if this template will sell well. Show them my template. I don't mind. Show them my template and say, hey, I can design this for you. And then if they want to buy it, then buy the template. And then that way you can use me as kind of your guinea pig for what designs your customers want to see.
Gotcha.
So you're good now. If you go to your move tool instead of your crop tool, go to the move tool, it'll take you out of crop mode. And this is ready to print. However, I would not print from this big old file. I would do file, save as a JPEG, and then I would print that JPEG, okay? That's always my suggestion to people. So save it as a JPEG, print that JPEG. But if you print from these big old Photoshop files, you're almost guaranteed, especially if you're printing wirelessly, you're going to be throwing yourself in a loop that you don't want to play with. Especially if you got things going. You thought it was printing the whole time, the thing hasn't even started because there's a data issue. So
now, is there any difference in which one of these JPEGs I need to pick?
The first one. That's it.
This one?
Uh-huh. That's it. And if you save that, that's ready to print. You got a whole design done. ready to make some money today.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Rick. Is there anything else that you need to see before I let you go today?
No. I know. So this right here, I just hit OK.
Yep, you hit OK, and that's going to make sure that you have a JPEG version of it now. Now, you're still editing your Photoshop version of it, but now you have a JPEG saved. Okay.
No, this is fine. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna just book another session with you because a couple other things that you guys want to do. I know you got a 4 o'clock, but I appreciate you, and you be here from. So just real quick too. Now, when you go in there and you book a one-on-one, are you supposed to get an email verifying that you have it, or?
Yes, you are, and I'm working on that now. Now, when you go and book a session, it'll have like a calendar of like open times now, and it's supposed to tell me. The problem was before it wasn't telling me, and usually people are like say, "Hey, Shannon, I have a session with you today at 3. This is what I want to do," and I could say, "Okay, well, 3 is a bad time," or whatever, and I can talk to them about it. But it was just letting people just willy-nilly select whatever times. So now I have it to where it has and we're going to test it out. So when you do your order, please let me know how the experience is, because it's a plugin that does scheduling now. So hopefully that works a little bit better for the both of us. And what'll happen is when I see it, I will create a Zoom link for you. And just like I did today, I will email you that Zoom link, and that's how you'll connect with me.
Okay, final. Okay. Well, I already got the answer to it. So I just go in and you said it's a calendar. So I'll see if you're doing things on Saturdays or whatever. I know you need days off.
I do, and I have Saturday and Sunday open. The only thing that I will do is I will turn it off if I know I have something going on. Right now, I'm pretty much at y'all's disposal. I work 7 days a week. Whenever creativity strikes, I'm there. But then, like if something's going on, I'll say, oh, well, I'm blocking myself off for this Sunday, or I'm blocking myself off from 4 to 8, that sort of thing. And you'll know because you won't see that option on the schedule.
Okay.
So right now I actually have Saturdays and Sundays open from I think 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. So if I have something going on, I'll block off that time.
You'll see me this Saturday or Sunday. I appreciate you.
Absolutely. I appreciate you too, Rick. You have a good one, okay?
Okay, thank you. Take care.
You're welcome.